are we ready?
Yes.
Hang on. Hang on. All right. I'm ready when I get the signal. Good evening and welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Waterville City Council. Before we get started, I will ask everybody to stand and we will say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's see. All right, first up is the disclosure of conflict of interest. Is there anybody that feels they have a conflict of interest with the votes they'll take tonight? Seeing as none, we have the approval of the consent agenda. Could I get a motion for the approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Council Morris?
Yes.
Council Oliveira?
Yes.
Council Mayu?
Yes.
Council Foss?
Yes.
Council Frankie?
Yes.
Council Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Moving to unfinished business, ordinance 221-2020.
I'd like to make a motion to take all of the items on the agenda by title only.
Second.
All in favor? Or I guess a roll call.
Yes. Council Morris?
Yes.
Council Oliveira?
Yes.
Council Mayu?
Yes.
Council Foss?
Yes.
Council Frankie?
Yes.
Council Thomas?
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed. So this is ordinance 221-2020.
Yes.
An ordinance providing for amendments to marijuana ordinance.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Is there discussion?
I just want to let the council know that sitting in on the meeting tonight is Damon Amstead. He's representing Lost Legends, which is the purchaser of the lot on the airport road regarding the marijuana operation. So that's this item, of course, but more importantly, it's the order number 240 right near the end of your agenda, which is a sale of that lot to Lost Legends. So if you have any questions about just what they're planning to do there, he's with us tonight for that.
Okay. Is there a way we can,
Do all three?
well, I'm wondering, like, we're gonna have a talk about
Yeah.
chickens somewhere, and I think there's gonna be a talk about closing city streets, which should go for long for, so in order for his time, can we move this forward?
We can, after we deal with this item.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
We're,
I'm online, watch all this.
Go ahead, Councilor.
Patty, I know we had some cleanup to do on this in the last meeting. Procedurally, what do we need to do at this point?
We could make a motion to amend by substitution with the packet that was in here today, which includes the airport industrial zoning that was requested at the last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Could I get is there discussion on that substitution? Ask for a roll call on that amendment.
Council-
Oh, hang on. I got
Oops,
Councilor
sorry.
Frankie with a hand up.
So, I know we're reading by title only, but could we get what exactly we're voting on read?
Yes.
Right now, the vote is merely an amendment to substitute what we had last time with what is in your packet, and then we have to move it as amended.
Just
Okay,
the
I got
changes to
it.
the ordinance.
Yeah.
Correct.
Shall I do a roll call?
Yes.
Council Morris?
Yes.
Council Oliveira?
Yes.
Council Mayu?
Yes.
Council Foss?
Yes.
Council Frankie?
No.
Council Thomas?
Yes.
Vote is 5 in favor and 1 opposed.
I'll move to adopt as amended.
Second.
All right, open for discussion. Are there any members of the public here to talk on this one? No? All right, we can take a roll call.
Council Morris?
Yes.
Council Oliveira?
Yes.
Council Mayu?
Yes.
Council Foss?
Yes.
Council Frankie?
No.
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 5 in favor and 1 opposed.
Next is Order 222-2020.
Anyone want to make a motion to take out of order 240?
I will make that motion.
Second.
Roll call for that?
Counselor Morris?
Yes.
Counselor Olivera?
yes,
Counselor Mayhew?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes.
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed. Let me find 240.
Sent you a map along with your agenda, which identifies this lot as Lot 50-1. I believe that the price they have offered to pay is what we have it offered at, $64,900. And it represents the last empty lot in that line that you see on the map, 50, 50-1, 50-2. We sold lot 50 last June, 2019, and 51 and 50-2 have just been sold in the last month. And now we're talking about lot 40 across the street. So things have picked up in this area.
May I read the title just to get it on the table and get a motion?
Yes.
An order providing for sale of lot in Airport Road subdivision.
Move to adopt.
Thank you.
Discussion. Counselor Foss.
So we've sold a lot of properties up on Airport Road, and this isn't particularly a discussion item to this resolution, but, or the ordinance, or say, we should start thinking about our next fiscal year and next budget, and the sale of those said lots up there. We know that they're in the Capital Improvement Reserve Fund, but really start looking at extending that Mitchell Road, making those first steps as far as engineering costs and stuff like that. I just wanted to bring that out so we can start talking about it now. That way it's not, a surprise later and we're spending money and not expanding that airport area, especially as high as it's been. So, just my thoughts.
All right.
I support that.
I don't know why you'd put that road there at this point. I don't know why that's a priority right now, but Counselor?
I guess my question to Counselor Foss's point would be, Mike, are any of these, none of these properties are in a TIF district at this point, are they? Or are they? The airport TIF either has expired or is shortly going to expire, right?
The airport TIF expires in 2021. So there hasn't been any value created yet, Eric. Mr. Plorty was here a few moments ago. He bought lot 50. We're talking about 51, and 50-2 was sold 2 meetings ago. So nothing of value has been added. So probably the TIF would not come into play because it expires next 2021 some point.
Right, but if we were to decide, for example, that we wanted to extend this road and we were looking for funding, we would have not only the sale of these properties, but possibly putting any improvements, any building improvements into a TIF district, which would also generate money that could go towards such a project or towards other projects at the airport if we weren't inclined to.
My only concern, and you only have to listen to this for like 5 more meetings, but I've been saying it for about 6 years, is that literally every sidewalk in the city is falling apart. People can barely walk on them. They're certainly not made for handicapped people at this point. The roads are falling apart, and at some point you have to decide, like, can we take care of what we have, or do we keep building new infrastructure? I think until the city of Waterville can take care of what it has and fix it, it should not build new infrastructure because it never pays for itself. Yes.
Right, I think we could get extra value from looking at a possible TIF district up there if we're going to start seeing development. The question is, how do we spend
Sure.
that
Yeah.
money?
All right, that was a little off topic, but
All right.
specifically with this sale, sorry, Damon.
Damon, do you have a timetable for when something might get built there?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Yeah, actually, we're on the schedule with Sheridan.
on.
For building, we're working with A. Dodson right now. So we are actually on the schedule with Sheridan. They have us final build out at end of June.
Nice.
Obviously, some hurdles to jump through, but we are on their schedule, and they have us at finished building end of June, hopefully a month earlier.
Okay. I guess dealing specifically with what's in front of us, I see no reason to be and to have any objections to this. Does anybody else?
Not at all.
How much of an investment are you making up there, Damon? If you want to share, I guess.
Yeah, we're waiting to get our estimate back. Ben Murray at AE Dotson right now is working on our overall building design. We're supposed to have that here in the next day or two. So hopefully within the next 2 or 3 weeks, I know the estimators at Sheridan are already working with them. So hopefully in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll have a good idea, but I'm going to guess it's going to be right around $1 million.
Great. Thank you. Are we ready for a vote? We'll take a roll call, please.
Council Morris?
Yes.
Council Olivera?
yes,
Council Mayu?
Yes.
Council Foss?
Yes.
Council Frankie?
Yes,
Council Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Great. Damon, thanks so much.
Mr. Mayor,
Thank you.
while we're on this point, Resolution 226, referral to the Planning Board of Airport Road, that was the original resolution to refer this for the ordinance change.
Okay.
So if you could, if someone could make a motion to indefinitely postpone, we don't need that now that we've gone to the marijuana ordinance amendment.
We can just wait till we get to that item, right, Mike, so we don't have to, otherwise we'd have to make a motion to take it out of order.
True, yes, all right, I'm sorry, yeah. It's only 2 items away.
All right. Good.
Okay.
All right, we're now back to Order 222-2020.
An order providing for approval of lease for the Alphon Youth and Community Center.
I'm actually going to make a motion to table that, given that we've got some zoning talk that we're going to talk about here in a little bit.
Right. I would say if we could table that for the November 17th meeting, I think that would be the most likely date.
Second on that.
Okay.
Second.
Roll call on the table till November 17th.
Council Morris?
Yes.
Council Olivera?
yes,
Council Mayu?
Yes.
Council Foss?
Yes.
Council Frankie?
yes,
Council Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Okay, Order 223-2020.
An order providing for acceptance of grant funds.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Council Morris?
Yes.
Council Olivera?
yes,
Council Mayu?
Yes.
Council Foss?
Yes.
Council Frankie?
yes,
Council Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Resolution 226-2020.
A resolution providing for referral to the planning board.
Move to adopt.
Second.
That's, can we get
To
a,
make a motion, we table this
Motion to
indefinitely.
table indefinitely.
Yep.
He did. So
Second.
Needs a second.
Yep.
okay. Roll call, please.
Council Morris?
Yes.
Council Olivera?
yes,
Council Mayu?
Yes.
Council Foss?
Yes.
Council Frankie?
yes,
Council Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
And Order 231-2020.
An order providing for acceptance of a grant from the Center for Tech and Civic Life for election-related expenses.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Council Morris?
Yes.
Council Olivera?
yes,
Council Mayu?
Yes.
Council Foss?
Yes.
Council Frankie?
yes,
Council Thomas?
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Moving on to new business, Resolution 234-2020.
A resolution providing for closure of city streets for outdoor dining.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And we're open for discussion. First, we'll open it to the council, and when the council decides they'd like, we will bring in the public for commentary on this, since we have members of the public here. Councillor Frankie.
Well, I would like to hear from the public, but my sense is that we're premature on this, and I really think we should table it until we've had time to hear from all of the downtown businesses who might be affected there.
Anybody else before we bring in the public?
I'm going to second that.
So was that a motion and a second?
It was a motion and a second to table this. I would encourage you not to, because I feel like we've talked about this ad nauseum, and I'd actually like to get a chance to hear from the public this evening. Although I think Councillor Frankie said he would like to hear from them too, so maybe that happens at the end of the discussion.
So do you want to withdraw your motion until we at least have a chance for the public that have come for this to chime in?
Yes, that's what I'd like to do.
Thank you, Councillor. All right, we'll bring in the public. I see Mr. Fortier, I see Ms. Bergeron here. Anybody else, this would be the time. We'd like to hear from you.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, councilors. My name is John Fortier. I'm not a restaurateur. Can you hear this okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'm not a restaurateur. However, I am a longtime business owner downtown. I've been there for 40 years. I run a clean operation. I maintain my building. Yesterday, I received notification that there was an application or a resolution to close down a second street in my area, which basically is boxing me in. Okay, like I said, I'm not a restaurant, but everybody's business opportunities that they have are different. And I'm asking for a little consideration here. You're asking to close down a second street, which the second street I'm actually in favor of. I believe that Merchants Way should have an opportunity. I'm fully in favor of that. They should share in the opportunity for outdoor dining. I'm fully in favor of that. But closing off two streets is circumventing the compromise that was made a number of years ago prior to the current owner's ownership of the restaurants. When I was on the council, a compromise was made amongst all the businesses on Silver Street to allow a single, at the sacrifice of valuable parking, to allow the restaurants, and the city paid for this at the city's expense. It was provided for by taxpayers at no charge to the restaurants. It was an agreed upon plan. It's worked out very well. It's very adequate spacing for restaurants. And next year, where you're attempting to close it down again, and we don't even know what's going to be required next year for social distancing or spacing. There's no indication of any sort, other than some kind of a hint that Councillor Foss told me about, which I haven't heard anything about. So I really object to closing a second street down, but I believe Merchants Way is the proper way to go, to allow all of the businesses, all of the restaurants, an opportunity. And when you expand that those restaurants, and you add to the inventory of outdoor dining, there may not be a need for the Silver Street closure. And there's been some problems on Silver Street, and I really hate to talk about them, but there's some filthy issues going on. All right, and I'm telling you that because I've had an extended talk with Mr. Foss, and it's a real problem. And it was happening last year, and it was happening the year before. Ever since the Bobbin closed down, that's the clientele we have. And it's not nice. There's defecation and urinating. There's drug dealing. There's partying, people going up the fire escape and jumping across to my building, a dozen of them at a time, and they're partying on my roof, and this woman downstairs pulling up their shirts for the show. I mean, it's just nasty. The whole thing has been nasty, and it's wrong for me to suffer that kind of abuse, and it's been going on for years. Now, every time I call the police, it would be every day that something going on there. They would stop listening to me, and it's not really up to me to be policing my next door neighbor. It's up to my next door neighbor to be policing his own clientele. And so, we got to fix this. All right, it's nasty, and I've got plenty of video to show you for anybody that's willing to look at it. But you won't like it, and you won't like the fights continuously. The toilet that my alleyway has become, and I can't shut it down because I have to maintain a right of way with my neighbor. So I'm stuck, and I just need a little more consideration to do business in a sanitary and clean fashion. And you guys got to do your due diligence. It hasn't been done. You're trying to close things down and put me out of business for the benefit of one sector of downtown. You're going to have a whole bunch of empty holes on Silver Street or around the area if you don't have anything but restaurants. Now, I'm all in favor of the restaurants. I went to Jennifer's restaurant last Friday, and the food was excellent, and there was a waiting line, and every seat in downtown was full. You couldn't get into any place. So I like to go out to eat as well, but we've got to maintain a balance toward allowing other people to do business and allow their customers to come and go. My customers drive there, they park there, they're there for 10 or 15 minutes, and they're gone. And a lot of my customers are elderly, pretty, somewhat immobile. They need convenient parking, and I shouldn't have to be subjected to the problems that I'm seeing on a daily basis. So, what do you suppose doing the due diligence is? Do you suppose we ought to be postponing a vote on something that's not going to happen until next April? Why are we talking about this now? If you want to do Merchant's Way, fine, I'm fine with that, but don't do both. I've got to have customer ebb and flow, and you're abusing me by not doing your due diligence. And when I get notified yesterday that this is going to be voted on tonight, I've been there 40 years. I'm not hard to find. Councillor Foss, I'm not hard to find. And from what I understand, somebody was supposed to reach out to me. Nobody did. Is that correct, Mike?
Not to my knowledge.
Nobody did. And I get notified yesterday, barely 24 hours in advance. And that's just not right. I've been around for 40 years, and I'm easy to find by telephone or by walking through my front door. So do your due diligence is all I'm asking. One road open and let my customers come and go. Thank you.
I'd like to would you mind staying for a minute?
Pardon me?
Would you mind hanging on for just a minute? I actually think that it's imperative that we get together at some point outside of here to talk about if those are real issues going on next to you and what you're saying is true, with people defecating in the streets and whatnot. We have handled single establishments and policed them before when necessary.
Well, I've been asking for that for years.
Then I don't know why that's not happening, because frankly, if we have people going to the bathroom outside and women ripping their shirts off and all kinds of debauchery happening, I find it abhorrent that we wouldn't just take care of that, because we actually have the means and the ability to do that. I'm not here to make accusations.
Okay.
I'm here to ask you to. I'd like to meet with you to have some kind of investigation into this, because this is the first time hearing about something like that.
We had this same conversation back in the spring, Mayor. All right? You all were notified of this last spring. You look at the email that I sent to you, okay? And there was supposed to be some enforcement. Well, guess what? It didn't happen, and it never happens. And I can't blame the police for not having somebody sitting there. I mean, they did a detail one or two nights back in 2019, and they arrested a few people, and that was that. But you know, it's just nasty.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Since, and I think that goes along with, Mike, what you and I talked about, the special detail that Chief Massey put together. And those timestamps are correct?
Correct.
From what you know. Since 2019, have you reported to the police any more incidences down there?
I've tried.
Okay. Do you have the records of that so we can go after that? We can figure out if there's something broken in the system or not?
I tried to text the chief at, and I think he blocked me.
Okay.
We don't call 911. Like,
Pardon me?
Why don't you call 911 or like why would you?
No, I was
Dispatch.
told by the chief to text him if there was any problems, because this came as a result of complaints, previous complaints.
And,
When I spoke to the chief today, he told me about the detail in 2019, the fact they did make either a couple of arrests or they issued summons. And he did have a detail in 2020 also. They don't announce it when they go, John, so, and they're not in uniform. There's not a police car with lights. So someone out there may not know that there's someone nearby that is there for enforcement. But I know that we have been there in 2020, so obviously we can't be there every night, you know that.
Yeah, and I don't expect you to be.
Right.
But
He did commit,
that's why I'm asking the business owner, and he's been talked to.
right?
Councilor Thomas has talked to him. All right, so he knows how we feel, but he's not willing to be responsible or do anything about it.
Right.
When he doesn't stop people from going up his fire escape and jumping on my roof and partying and doing whatever they're doing up there, which I'm sure is nothing constructive going on my roof at midnight. So I don't know if there's any other questions. I'd be happy to fill you in.
can I? In April of 2021, where will your business be located?
Pardon me?
In April of 2021, where will your business be located?
In my business?
Yeah.
I hope that it's going to be on Kennedy Memorial Drive.
Okay, so not in the concourse anymore then?
Well, I don't know.
Right.
You know, I still own the property.
No, I understand.
Okay, if somebody wants to make me an offer tonight, I'm listening. So, but I don't expect to be
Call
able
in.
to sell it. I expect to have to lease it.
Sure.
And whoever goes in there is going to have the same issues that I have.
Okay.
Council?
There are really two separate issues here. One is the closure of the street. The other is the ongoing issues
Right.
with John's neighbor, which I have spoken to him more than once. And I had emailed the chief of police and Mike Roy back, probably 2 months ago or so about some concerns that John raised. And at the time, the chief said that they were just getting sort of back up to normal operations after all of the COVID stuff and doing liquor enforcement and whatnot. And at that point, I was just sort of waiting to see what panned out from that. It does seem that these issues continue. I talked to John today and mentioned that I'd be more than happy to sit down with him. Sounds like the mayor may want to be there, Mike and the police chief, and I think Rick might have wanted to be there too, to see what exactly we can do to solve these problems. I went through this before when I was on the council and we were having the issues with the bobbin. We put our foot down when it came time to renew their liquor license and made some demands of them. And it seems perhaps the problem that we were having over there has moved across town. And this is something that I mentioned before when we approved this, is that we wanted people to do their best to be good neighbors. And it sounds like perhaps that's not happening with one establishment there. And if the city needs to be a mediator to try to alleviate that problem, which is a separate problem from the closure of the street,
Right.
certainly I'm happy to have those conversations and facilitate a meeting to deal with those.
Right, I think that was my point, is that it's important to separate the issues because one of them, well, they're both probably easy, but they have to be addressed in different ways.
Sure, and I understand. And my contention being is that closing both streets is boxing me in.
Well, I don't know why we have to close all of Merchants Way.
Pardon me?
I don't know why we have to close all. We're not closing all of Merchants Way.
Well, it's talking about the area that I'm talking about how my customers get egress the parking lot. Okay, I'm buried in that corner, all right next to the restaurants. And the getting into me, okay, if you're coming from Winslow from the bridge, you're gonna make a 180. Silver Street used to be, that four-way intersection used to be open. Silver Street was continuous onto my section of Silver Street, and it went right through to Main Street. It was a street, okay? Now, at the last, I should say parking lot refresher about 20 years ago, they closed off that fifth branch because it was safer. It was a safety issue. So that everybody that wanted to come to my office now had to go into the concourse and make a 180 and then come around, okay? But they could still get out. They could still leave. There was still some flow. When I moved down to that location 40 years ago, there was 23 spaces on that street for parking, for convenient parking, convenient access, convenient egress and ingress and egress. So it's completely changed. And the restaurants were given a beautiful, on Silver Street at least, were given a beautiful opportunity at taxpayer expense with a compromise to allow that Silver Street to continue one lane wide so that other businesses could have the benefit of a street. Okay, now what you're doing is you want to close off that street. Now you want to close off another street that prevents that corner from even having any kind of flow. There's no, I don't get businesses driving by my shop anymore like I used to. So it has an effect on the business, on the visibility, okay? It's just marketing. And by the way, Counselor, the reason, I didn't start looking for a new location.
No, that's fine.
Okay, I didn't start looking for a new location until July, okay, because of the shenanigans that was going on downtown. And, I could see the handwriting on the wall. Nobody's looking after the downtown businesses, all right? So parking is an issue, access is an issue. I can see the handwriting on the wall. So what do? I have to go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to do business and leave a place that I've been at for 40 years. It's just not right. Just not right. Now, I enjoy restaurants, outdoor dining, and I'm all for it. But to just shut me down like that is just wrong. And it's you haven't done your due diligence. And I get notified, I get blindsided. This is an ambush. And it's just wrong.
That's a two-way street. I mean, you sent an email this afternoon about all the stuff that's been happening for the last 6-8 months in your area.
Yeah.
There's no due diligence. There's two ways. Like, we can't do anything about it if you're not telling us about it.
Well, somebody ought to come to me and say.
Well, we can't come to everybody. These people have been, outdoor dining has been on the agenda for at least 6 meetings in the last 8 months.
I didn't know about it.
You know what I mean? And we're talking about this for all of this time. And at any point during any of those meetings,
nobody said that they wanted to shut down the streets, Councilor.
That's all we've talked about, was shutting down streets.
Well, not 2 streets at a time.
We want to make it as
I got ambushed yesterday. Let's face it.
Well, I apologize.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I've been there for 40 years. Come on. Who's the councilor for the ward that I'm in?
The guy on TV.
Pardon me?
Claude.
Well, Councilor, it would have been nice to see you.
He's talking to somebody else.
Anyway, I've had my say. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm for dining, but don't close my doors. All right? Don't devalue my property, and that's what you're talking about here. Thank you.
Hi, welcome.
Jennifer Bergeron from Lion's Den Tavern, and I'm going to speak. I believe that we have some common ground here. I think Mr. Fortier should have been notified ahead of time, for sure. That's terrible that it was a surprise. However, my opinion wouldn't change based on that. I've brought forth to you all problems that we've had late night in the concourse. I would love to see an idea of how to have some of the violence and craziness stop, and that these are some things that happen late night, but we're closed by then. So we do see it, and I do think there needs to be a little bit more discussion here about that, because maybe there's something more that can be done. As far as people coming into the concourse, you know, there are no fewer than 8 ways out of that little section, you know, between the Merchants Way and Silver Street. So people who come in can get out. This isn't going to prevent people. And I really feel like with Silver Street and our restaurant and all the outside dining, I think downtown Waterville has become a destination. And I think even at lunchtime, when all of the stores are open, you're having a lot more people walk downtown. They're looking around at the other businesses that are downtown. I think it's been a huge plus. When asked, why do we have to rush? Why are we doing this now? What's the impetus to make it so, you know, we've got to make this decision? I've been trying for outside dining for the winter time, and you all know I came here repeatedly, and was pushed back. I finally have gotten the state to say, hey, you know what, if you get the health inspector to sign off, go for it. Okay, but now I'm going to the code enforcement and coming up with ideas for him, and this discussion with him is going to go so long that it's going to be too late. The ground's going to be frozen. I can't build a structure. You know, I'm coming up with, what if we put a greenhouse out here, and what if, like, all these ideas, and he's, you know, the back and forth is going to be daunting. That's why the discussion and the decision has to happen now. We really do need to make decisions now as to what happens next year. If you push it off, you think, oh, what's it doing? It's doing nothing to these business owners. But you know what? I was waiting for tables that I ordered for outside dining for 3 months because there's so much outside dining from this year. I waited for heaters for our outside space for months because so many people are going for it. And now I want to bring something great to this town for winter, and I'm probably too late. There's likely not going to be an awful lot I can do because it waited too long. So if that had happened 6 weeks earlier, I would have had a shot. You know, now it's very likely I have no shot, but I'm still going to try because that's what I do. But I do hope that you all decide that what we want here, you know, we've all come together, which is, as you all know, it is a real terrific feat to have all of us restaurants in agreement that this should happen. And, you know, we have one person in opposition, but I believe many people have had the opportunity to hear about this plan, and hopefully they've had the opportunity to weigh in and let you know if there's been a problem, and hopefully you've had enough time to decide that this should happen and that it should be voted on now, so we all have time to know what's going on next year and make plans for next year.
I agree. Hi, Charlie.
Hi, Charlie Jaguar, Silver Street Tavern. I really don't have a lot to say, but I can just reiterate a couple of things. I think that John's relocating his business, okay, so, and even this summer, the traffic pattern through there was very easily navigated. And I feel like we're being held hostage to a feud between Hector and John, you know, and I don't really want to get dragged into that. I think maybe there's an enforcement issue that needs to happen on that end, but it's out of my control.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to get caught up in that dialogue because I think it's totally separate from whether or not closing Silver Street Tavern, closing Silver Street, that piece of Silver Street, I don't think has anything to do with the other. And I really appreciate what you guys done. I think that outdoor dining is going to be, COVID is not going to disappear in the mentality of my diners. 47% of people who regularly go out to eat will not go into a restaurant, and that's why we need excess outdoor area in the future. You know, it worked well this year. It'll work well next year. Honestly, that little strip right there, long-term vision is that should be a pedestrian walkway, you know, with outdoor dining. And I think it would blend well with the hotel, but you know, I'm not here to argue that today, but that's certainly the reaction to my customers when they're sitting out there. It's like, can you do this next year? You know, if there was a vote, referendum in Waterville right now, there'd be one lone dissenter, okay, and that'd be John. So, be happy to answer any questions.
Eric?
Charlie, can you just speak to why can't you wait for this decision? Why do you need us to make this decision now?
Why, I'm going to use your expression. Why are you going to kick the can down the road? Okay, because why? You know, so we're going to do some spot assignments at this point? Yeah. I don't think that's fair to Jennifer. I don't think it's fair to the expectations of the proper pig and everybody else that's been included on that, including myself.
Yeah, especially if you're looking for things that are not Jersey barriers to drop
What's
in.
that?
Especially if you're looking for things that are not Jersey barriers and you're looking for things. I mean, I assume you're going to need some time to.
Well, we're going to try and, I mean, we slapped it together this year, but, you know, we're going to take a closer look at furniture next year. And, you know, I just see beautiful things happening. I know the citizens of Waterville, Fairfield, Oakland, whatever, Winslow, they all appreciate that area that we've created out there. Having the lines down there too, you know, there's been a good chemistry in terms of people going from place to place. And so I don't know if I answered your question, but I don't want to be the only one not getting permission. It's as simple as that.
Any questions? No? Thank you. I see. Jay, are you here to speak?
Thank you.
In response to Charles's Silver Street issue, the Silver Street issue could be easily separated from the Merchants Way issue. First of all, we have no idea what next year's circumstances are going to be as far as spacing or COVID or any issues with the need for additional space. First of all, the issue next door to me, there's been no spacing and no consideration to COVID. I'm surprised it hasn't been an incubator of COVID, but Charlie runs a good operation too. I don't begrudge him wanting to use Silver Street as his expanding the square footage, but that wasn't the deal years ago. Okay, that was the city built him a special esplanade that he is getting for no charge. It's nice. I think it's colorful, but there was an agreement to allow for that Silver Street to remain open for one-way traffic beyond the in addition to the dining area. So Charlie wasn't. You know, the restaurants have changed hands. All right, but the agreement was made and it was built out as such, and that he's got plenty of square footage. If there's no spacing requirements next year, then why give him the street? I mean, he's got plenty of space outside and inside for any demand, and especially with the additional outside dining in the other areas. I would wait and see and say, hey, you know, if the need is there, if the COVID thing is still an issue, then you close down the street again, and we'll deal with it at that time. But to make that decision now doesn't make any sense. It defies common sense when you don't know what the circumstances are going to be next year. So separate the issue. And deal with that issue next year. It's completely sensible to do that. You know, this thing has been rushed. It's been an ambush. And there's no need for Charlie to have, or the other restaurants to have the street closed if they don't need it. Right now, the Cancun restaurant, the Esplanade has been wide open for the last 3 months. There's no tables on it. And I mean, he's not using it. He's using the street for tables instead. Doesn't make any sense. You've given him the street, but he's not using the space that was built out for him. That doesn't make any common sense. I don't know why he's done that. It doesn't even look good. But I think it's because of the crowds that he has at nighttime that hang out outside and drinking and all that stuff. So, you know, just separate the two issues. It's an easy decision to make. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jay? Mr. Coelho?
I really don't appreciate John telling me how many seats I need to make my restaurant work. Okay? He already said he's not a restaurateur. He's not a restaurateur. Okay? All I'm saying is we got a useless that we turn into something nice. It gives us an extra 40 seats. People want to be outside. And I just don't understand his opposition. I don't think it affects his business, which he's moving anyway. It's very frustrating.
Thank you.
But it's still on the property.
Jay? Excuse me, we're going to put order in the meeting now and have Mr. Coelho come to the microphone.
Well, Ward 5. I don't have a restaurant downtown. I got a business downtown. I was fortunate enough to talk to, this all started with the Lion's Den and You Know Who's Pub. And my counselor reached out to me. We spoke about it. We went out and we talked to those two businesses. We got them to agree, which hadn't been done in weeks. We made short order of it. And then we saw a need somewhere else. Rick went around talking to all the other businesses to see what everybody else's input was, because you guys have spent weeks, months, talking about this same issue over and over again, and nothing changed. I don't know what it's going to do, but I don't know about COVID next year. But I will say that I've enjoyed seeing that street sort of blocked off. I was on the corner there. When I first started You Broke It, I was right there across from Cancun. You know how many people would come up the wrong way down that road? At some point, I'd like to see that completely closed. Nice little archway with some lights that go across. Make it a walking path. But those seats outside, it's great to sit outside. I like eating out there. I know John has said that he likes to eat out there. I feel bad about his building. I don't know what to do about that. But we had a bunch of businesses that couldn't agree on anything. And now we've got most of them agreeing for the same things. I think that we've built some consensus. It was great to work across the aisle, but I think you guys need to put this to bed. I think at this point it just needs to end. We're talking about 1 year. We're going to have a redesign anyway, and none of us like the redesign of the concourse as it is right now. So a lot of this is moot. We're giving them tools to be able to do things ahead of time. Like Jen said, she's already lost an opportunity, most likely, for this year to use that park. And that was the biggest point of contention. Everyone else has come to an agreement. I think it's time to put this to bed.
Is there any more questions or comments from the council? Councilor Thomas.
Oh, well, this is a really tough one for me because I have relationships with all of these people. And honestly, I'm probably closest to John's family, his son Al. I've actually been up helping to paint Mr. Fortier's new location on KMD. And I understand, you know, when we talk about agreements that were made 15, 20 years ago, but things change. Every single owner of those restaurants is different than it was when that patio was put in the first place. And we have the build grant work coming up, the switch to two-way traffic, and quite frankly, Silver Street is gonna, I don't see, and I've had this argument before, I don't see how the traffic pattern on Silver Street can stay the same after the switch to two-way traffic, because you're basically going to be stuck We don't want anyone going down Silver Street and trying to take a left onto Main Street once there's two-way traffic. And if you take a right, all you're going to be able to do basically is circle back to downtown. So the only feasible things I see for Silver Street moving forward is that you change the direction of the traffic to the other way so people can get from Main Street to the parking lot, or you close it down altogether. So I guess my point is that change is coming to Silver Street. And it's really just a matter of, does it come now, or does it come a year from now, or come 2 years from now when we go through the build grant? And I'm sympathetic to John's position. The part I really feel worst about, honestly, is that he feels like he wasn't given proper notice. And that falls on all of us. Honestly, I assumed somebody else was having that conversation with him. I probably should have just gone ahead and done it myself. You know, we could delay this, just the Silver Street portion, for another meeting. I'm not sure it's going to really change the outcome. And so I guess that's, just to put my cards on the table, that's what my thoughts are at the moment.
Other questions or comments from the council? Councilor Frankie?
Well, I think Mr. Fortier makes a good point that while Councilor Foss may have spoken to all of the restaurants in the area, he didn't speak to any of the other businesses. I know there are other businesses that need access for deliveries and such. This is something that affects all of the merchants downtown, not just the restaurants. And I really think that it bears some more discussion, getting some more people involved in what's going on. Councilor Thomas makes a good point. The build grant is coming down the road next year, and that's going to totally disrupt the parking on Main Street itself, which means that the parking in the concourse is going to be that much more important. The fact of the matter is we need a comprehensive plan for the concourse, not just a Band-Aid here and a Band-Aid there. That's why I think we should postpone discussion of what's going to happen next spring until we have a chance to actually figure out what a comprehensive plan is for the concourse. That's why I suggest that we table this motion indefinitely.
Is that an actual motion, Claude? I think at this point it would probably...
Yes.
To table it indefinitely, is that your?
Table it indefinitely until we figure out what's going on.
Is there a second? No. Council, I think we've probably heard all we're going to hear. Are we ready to take a vote? Yes. All right, I will take a roll call, please, Patty.
Councilor Morris?
Yes.
Councilor Oliveira?
Yes.
Councilor Mayu?
Yes.
Councilor Foss?
Yes.
Councilor Frankie?
No.
Councilor Thomas?
Yes.
Vote is 5 in favor and 1 opposed.
I have.
Flavia, is this about what we just voted on?
No, it's just a continuation of it, like, because that we voted that, okay, we're gonna keep it, we're gonna close off the street. So, are we gonna be talking about a plan or what we're gonna do next?
It's
like,
done.
what's the place? Because it needs to have rules.
I think she's talking more about the concourse in general. So we
Oh.
work on this. Are you talking about the concourse in general, Flavia?
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. We absolutely need to have a conversation, I think, the concourse overall, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, I think Councilor Foss wanted to respond to that, Flavia.
Yeah, we've been talking, again, along the restaurants. The ideas are starting to float around as far as what their thoughts are on the redesign of the concourse. So yes, I don't disagree. We need to have that conversation on what that final build looks like and figure out what works for everybody and really take a hard look at it. So I don't know if that helps or not, but that's what I got.
All right.
All right, we'll move on to the next item.
Resolution 235, a resolution providing for appointing Mark Wardecker to the Waterville Public Library trustees.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All right, we'll take a roll call, please.
Counsel Morris?
Yes.
Counselor Olivera?
Yes.
Counselor Mayu?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
Yes,
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Next is Resolution 236, 2020.
A resolution providing for issuance of a second-hand license to Damon's Vintage Vinyl LLC, doing business as The Record Connection.
Move to adopt.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Take a roll call, please.
Counsel Morris?
Yes.
Counselor Olivera?
Yes.
Counselor Mayu?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
yes,
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Resolution 237, 2020.
A resolution providing for approval for main PERS plan for the Waterville professional firefighters.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And discussion. Roll call, please.
Counselor Morris?
Yes.
Counselor Olivera?
Yes.
Counselor Mayu?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
yes,
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Ordinance 238, 2020.
An ordinance providing for amendment to zoning airport solar project.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Counselor Morris?
Yes.
Counselor Olivera?
Yes.
Counselor Mayu?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
yes,
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
Vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Resolution 239, 2020.
A resolution providing for referral to the planning board.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call, please.
Counselor Morris?
Yes.
Counselor Olivera?
Yes.
Counselor Mayu?
Yes.
Counselor Foss?
Yes.
Counselor Frankie?
yes,
Counselor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 6 in favor and 0 opposed.
Order 240, 2020.
We did that.
We did that one
Oh,
already.
we did.
Yep, so we're on to 241 now.
240 with the chickens.
Yes. A resolution providing for referral to the planning board.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Open for discussion. Council first. Councilor Frankie.
I just want to ask the city manager if there's been any request for a variance, or is there any plans for anybody to build a chicken operation anywhere in the residential zone?
Gonna need help. I'm sorry.
Has there been any requests that you know of to have a variance on the current ordinance regarding chickens?
Am I aware of any requests regarding?
A variance. Has anyone requested a variance to the ordinance that we
No,
currently have?
Since we adopted it back in 2010, maybe, I don't know of any variances that have been issued. Nope.
Councilor Thomas?
Patty, do you have any idea how many permits we've actually issued for people
None that
to
I'm aware of.
keep chickens?
I don't think, they're not issued through my department.
No, Dan,
They're through the code
Through
office.
code enforcement?
yeah, I think Dan responded to Councilor Frankie on that question earlier today as to the number of permits issued. I don't remember what it was, but I know he did provide that info.
I didn't even know you needed a permit.
25 bucks.
Oh.
Well, it's code enforcement, Nick, so you would have to get a permit, and Dan said that there have been 3 since he's been on the job, which
Okay.
is, I think, about 5 years.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I can see both sides of this. I will say my neighbors had chickens for a while. They don't currently, but I also live in an area where the lots are closer to, a third to half an acre. They kept it very clean. They had a really nice setup. There was space. I never smelled anything. I never really heard or dealt with anything. I can understand the request for people with small lots. I also know people with some smaller lots that I feel like have them. But at the same time, I also understand needing some kind of restriction there because I would imagine there can be some health-related issues or that would amp up the necessary requirements for our code enforcement office if you have clusters of chicken coops in less. I don't know. I just imagine if you're a neighbor, and with me, if my neighbor has a chicken, it doesn't affect me because they're so far away from me. But if it's 3 feet out of my window, I'm probably not going to be happy about that. That's just my personal opinion.
I was actually on the council when the current ordinance was put into place, and as I recall, the reason we went with 10,000 square feet was because there was a fair amount of opposition at the time, people worried about their property values and such things. So we decided to sort of ease in to this for the city, and we set 10,000 square feet with the idea that if we could wait and see are there complaints, are there other people. I don't know where I stand on changing it at this point. I'm certainly not opposed to allowing the planning board to have a discussion about it.
Yeah, I think it's just, I can see both sides of it. Any other questions or comments from the council? I think Mr. Bofia is here to speak on this issue. Oh, Councilor Frankie, and then we'll have Phil come in.
Well, I was just going to point out that there's one of those things that we've already got on the books. Doesn't seem like there's anything particularly coming down the pike on it, but referring it back to the planning board for discussion, further discussion seems like a good way to go. Let the planning board work out if there's anything going on.
Fair enough. Phil, come on in.
Philadelphia Ward 2. I'm actually the one who raised the question about the chickens because it seemed I didn't know there was an ordinance on chickens. I'd never assumed that people regulated how somebody could eat in their homes and provide food for their families. And I understand the need for regulation, but I do also think that if I need to go and purchase $20 worth of chicken, which is about 6 chickens, I shouldn't have to purchase 10,000 square foot of land and maintain the land so that I can own 6 chickens. And I know there are requirements. There's some constraints with the amount of land that we have in the city as far as neighbors being close to each other. I just think that right now the regulations that are in place, disfavor a very large portion of the population. There, especially in the times that we're in with COVID, and when we have seen the need for so many families to be able to provide food for their family themselves. And what is one of the most nutritious way to do that than to provide some eggs for your family right in your backyard. I just feel like the size requirement and some of the additional requirements that are put on makes it so that so many people in the community won't be able, to own some chickens and provide some eggs to their family just because they cannot afford really large size land.
Yeah, I mean, I think it seems like the general consensus is it's not going to hurt to send it to the planning board, let them kind of have that discussion. I'm not a chicken owner myself. My wife has assured me she's not letting me build a chicken coop in our yard. But and my understanding is, I mean, I think it does. I mean, I don't know that it's a big cost saver by the time you actually take care of the chickens and feed them, but fair enough to the point.
No, absolutely.
I would just say that before we passed this ordinance, the only place you were allowed to have chickens in the city was if you lived in rural residential. And so this actually made it less restrictive and allowed more people You know, and as I said, at the time, it was meant to sort of ease the city into this. And so, again, happy to let the planning board have a discussion about this and see. But it's part of what you sign up for when you live in a city. Like, you know, do you think you should be able to raise a cow in your backyard?
No, I don't.
You know,
have that
I
kind
mean,
of
you have to
desire.
put limits on all of these things. So the question is, where do you put the limit?
No, absolutely. And my thing, like I said, you know, I understand there needs to be some regulation. I just feel like the regulations that are in place are way too extensive for. So I bet there's so many people in the community that don't even know the size requirement. And I know some individuals who own chickens, and I don't think that they are aware that they should own 10,000 square foot of land before they can have, you know, 6 chickens and be able to have some eggs, you know, in their households. And I think that the planning board should definitely look at this. And when I read the article that Councilor Thomas sent, it looks like when this ordinance was put in place, there was already some opposition to the ordinance, and this same concern was raised that about half of the population of the city was basically being cut out from being able to own some chickens. And it was 2012, I believe, and now we are back with the same issue. And I just urge the council, and I will urge the city, the planning board, to look at it, because we in COVID times, there's going to be, there was already almost a food shortage, you know, in our stores, and people have to come up with creative ways, and the food banks were open and all these things, and people are trying to, and so many people started gardening, so many people started, you know, raising their own chickens to provide for their families. And now I bet you some of those people are going to be shocked to learn that they couldn't even do that, you know, because there's an ordinance that prohibits them from doing that. Is there an ordinance that prohibits me from growing some vegetables in my backyard, and how many vegetables I should have in my backyard?
Well, hang on. To be fair here, like, we're not going to let you put like a pig pen in your backyard, right? You know what I mean? I mean, I think it's reasonable to say that there would be regulations on whether you can have, what kind of barn animals you can have in the backyard.
We're talking about a quarter of an acre. Flavia.
Oh, Flavia, I didn't see you up there.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mike.
I also, my question is fulfilled because I got an email from Danielle Bragg. She's from my ward, so, and her concern about it's not about the 10,000 square feet, but also about the 15 feet line from her property. She actually emailed me with the concern. It's the noise of the chicken. It's just the fact that it's close to her property. So it's that property line too that we're talking about here.
Right. So to be fair, we had a public comment come in that says, "Good evening. My name is Danielle Bragg, Ward 2. Mr. Bofia has not obtained a permit for his pen. He does not have property required. His coop is approximately 10 feet from my home." So I assume that's what this is. What is bringing this up?
Yes.
Yeah, and to respond to that, like I said, you know, we're living in a city where we don't have that much space in between. So if you're looking at the requirement for space in between property line, basically I would have the chicken coop in my living room. If I were to, you know, put it away from each neighbor around me, I would literally have to put it in the middle of my living room so I can have some chickens. Right. So I think, again, the regulation that is put in place is prohibiting about half of the population of the city to be able to provide for their chickens. I mean, she has seen my chicken coop. I think I did a fantastic job building it, and it's pretty much soundproof. You know, the one that I have, I spent a lot of hours building that property to make sure that it adheres to, you know, sanitary measures, and make sure I'm not one to keep a very dirty property. Anybody's more than welcome to come and check my property. It looks very nice out back. The chicken coop looks fantastic, and there's no smells. And I made sure, because I'm somebody who's very clean, and I know most people in Waterville are the same. Like the mayor said, his neighbor did the same with his chicken coop. And it's about having conversation. I reached out to Danielle, my neighbor. I tried to have a conversation with her and try to solve this issue. And I mean, she wasn't very receptive to the conversation, but that's okay. I will continue to do that because I have a great relationship with all my neighbor, and it's about making sure that we accommodate each other when we live in a neighborhood. And I felt like right now, the way that the things are constructed, I feel like it does that. And if it doesn't, I'm more than willing to continue to have the conversation with her to come up to some kind of consensus.
Yeah, I can't imagine it hurts to have this go to the planning board for conversation. Yeah, no. Everybody else seems to have a general consensus. We think that's fine to send it to the planning board?
Absolutely.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Phil. Is there any other public members want to comment on chickens?
Chickens. We're talking about chickens in Waterville.
Yeah.
10,000 square feet is approximately 2.3 acres. It's not a lot of land.
I'm sorry,
2.23.
0.23.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just under a quarter of an acre.
Right.
I think the purpose of that ordinance originally was so that people wouldn't grow chickens in their cupboards.
And there's no meat chickens here. I want to be clear about that. These are only egg-laying hens.
So, I'm glad you brought up the eggs. So, while going over this ordinance, I realized that there's a section, I believe we spoke about it earlier, we did. I believe off the top of my head it's 4.3331B or whatever it is. It says that you can't sell your chickens, can't sell the fertilizer, and can't sell the eggs. That is in direct conflict with our food sovereignty. And I'm glad that you're back on board with food sovereignty, because this is exactly what we were talking about when it came to COVID, making sure that people had access to put what they wanted on their table. This is specifically what this was for, and I'm glad that people are finally coming around to that idea. But I'd like you to remove eggs from that ordinance if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, not a bad idea. Chickens. For the record, I actually have an old deed from the Ursuline sisters because I live on their old potato field, and I'm not allowed to have chickens, sheep, cows, pigs, or anything else on my property. I have extra restrictions in my deed, so. Councillor Foss?
To Mr. Coelho's point, though, is that a movement we need to make tonight? Or is that going to need to be a separate item?
It's just being sent to the planning
Just to
board, so the
kick it over
details
to the
of
planning
it will
board
be
for them to talk
discussed.
about it.
All right.
Yep.
All right, we'll take a roll call on that.
Council Morris?
No.
Councilor Oliveira?
No.
Councilor Mayu?
Yes.
Councilor Foss?
Yes.
Councilor Frankie?
No.
Councilor Thomas?
Yes.
The vote is 3 in favor and 4 opposed.
3 and 3, which means it fails, right, Patty?
3 and 3, yes.
I thought I was a tiebreaker here.
Oh,
Right.
right.
Oh, it's my first time. Wow, I made it to the end. You know?
You want to think about this one, Nick.
Good to find your legacy. The famous chicken vote.
It's chickens.
It's chickens. You know what? It's a conversation that if it was coming back for some kind of ordinance change, I might feel a little more pressure. To ask the planning board to talk about it, I'm fine with that. I'm going to say yes.
4 to 3. Okay.
Hey, thanks everyone.
Don't count your chickens until they're...
All right, counselor updates. So any counselor updates tonight? Counselor?
Yeah, I want to bring up some email correspondence that I've been having with the residents of Burley Street. I know, Mike, Roy, you're going to address this too a little bit, but I wanted to speak on behalf of, as a partial ward, because my boundary of Ward 4 runs along Burley Street, and I've kept Councilor Claude Frankie in correspondence with my emails. I've CC'd him on all the correspondence that I've had. Some of his constituents have expressed the concern about COVID-related activity down on Burley Street for Halloween. We all know that that is the epicenter of the trick-or-treaters in Waterville. Many of the residents on that street collectively spend $300–400 on candy every year. And the droves of people that go there is quite significant. So the concerns amongst the residents, and even some of the newer residents that have moved in there and have had allocated candy out maybe 1 or 2 years and have children of their own are very concerned to the extent of the presence of a lot of people, even in an outdoor space in that perimeters of Burley Street. I have expressed that, there should be, obviously a house to house. You turn off your lights, you draw your blinds, and you don't participate. That's easier said than done, as I've had correspondence back and forth with some Burley Street residents, and they would like, I do, and I have conferred with Mike Roy on this. I have also CC'd Police Chief Joe Massey on this. Some of the residents have felt like when this was brought to my attention that I hadn't acted appropriately on it. I can honestly say that I have verified that I have been working on it the whole time, because I have shared my email correspondence time-stamped with all the email correspondence that I have with that specific resident. I do take my job very seriously, and I have a very good track record of that, I can honestly say, in my 5.5 years on the council. So I can say that, the city will have a presence there. Barriers will be discussed down there. And I have, along with suggesting with Councilor Claude Frankie, that we would like to have public safety measures down there as a deterrent, obviously, and to make the residents, even the participating residents, when they do shut their lights off, we want to make sure that their homes are protected, because there are instances where trick-or-treaters knock on the doors from 4 p.m. all the way up to 9 p.m. And again, for those houses that have pets in them, for those houses that have children in them, and the parents are trying to control all of those parameters and dealing with that, I think it's very essential, and I have been assured that the Waterville Police Department will have a presence down there, and there will be some kind of form of a perimeter of public safety down there. So I will let, obviously, Mike Roy extensive on that.
Yeah, I'd like some detail. What do you mean a perimeter? I mean, if people don't want trick-or-treaters coming to their house, I'm fine with that. If people do want them, I think it's great. But can you tell me a little bit more about?
Well, right, who makes the request?
Yeah, who makes this? I mean, if this was some march down, if this was like some protest march, we'd be like, yeah, issue the permit. Like.
Well, right, but who makes the request for the barriers? Like, is there a neighborhood group that's requesting that?
Right. The Burley Street neighborhood has requested the barriers for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
All 17
as
years.
I can remember.
All 17 years I've been here. But now they're saying, no, we don't want them this year, and I think that's what we should do. I don't
That's
think
fine.
we should put up any barriers to encourage traffic. Chief Massey, as Councilor Mayo said, has pledged to have a patrol in the Burley Street area, because there still will be crowds. But I don't think we should encourage more people to come there by putting up barriers. So our plan is not to put them up, I mean, unless the council decides otherwise.
Okay, that sounds a lot better than the way I was understanding that. So this is just essentially not shutting it down and allowing things to be more like just a normal neighborhood.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense. Councilor Frankie?
Well, I think Councilor Mayhew is right. He's been in contact with me for the past couple of weeks about this issue. And the thing to keep in mind here is that with the COVID virus starting to have an upswing in neighboring states, we're still not out of the woods here in Maine. I would draw everyone's attention to the guidelines from the Center for Disease Control that has recommended that folks avoid high-risk activities such as door-to-door trick-or-treating, and instead try to promote low-risk activities such as virtual costume parties, decorating pumpkins, Halloween movie night with the family, decorating your house, so one of the problems with the city putting up barriers is it makes the city a party to the event. And I really think that the best thing to do here is to not have the barriers, to just have the police presence. Chief Massey has indicated that he's going to put the speed sign, radar sign up on Burley Street to remind people that it is a residential street and they should slow down. And I really think at this point caution is the way to approach Halloween this year. Indeed, all the holidays are going to be affected this year, so we might as well just get used to it.
Well, for some people, I guess. To each their own. So you're good with us. You're good with us not barricading the street. You're essentially good with the plan, is what you're saying.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. All right. Any other councilor updates?
Patty, are you going to give an update on voting stuff?
I can. Do you want it now?
Can you, I have a couple of questions. One, how many people have requested absentee ballots? How many have already been sent out? How many people typically vote in a presidential election? And then I'll let you fill in anything else you think is necessary from there.
Thank you. As of today, we've had almost 4,900 absentee ballot requests. It's basically shattered all records since we've been keeping records. So we have about 3,600 already returned. So people are returning them early. They're taking advantage of the drop box outside of City Hall, which is fantastic. So we're projecting 6,000 absentee ballots with the track that we're on right now, and that's basically what I had estimated, this leading into this election cycle right after the July primary. So with 6,000, a little less probably absentees, we're expecting 2,000 probably to vote at the polls. So basically the projection is around an 8,000 turnout. The last presidential election we had 74-33 votes cast. 3,000 of those were by absentee. So obviously we're going to shatter those records. So based on what we saw in July, 75% of the turnout was by absentee ballot. So that's what we're targeting for this election as well.
Okay.
And how people can vote in-person absentee up until when?
In-person absentee voting, the deadline is Friday, October 30th. To request by telephone or electronic or written request is the 29th.
And what happens if somebody returns an absentee ballot the day of the election and then goes and tries to vote in person as well?
Right. Well, the short story on absentee voting is on Monday, whatever ballots we've received on Monday, we'll accept and put those on the incoming voting list as already voted. So the checkoff list that goes to the polls show all the ballots that have come back as of Monday. So if someone goes to the polls and tries to vote on Tuesday, they'll go to the check-in and the person will say, you've already cast an absentee ballot. Those ballots that come in on election day, we process them at City Hall and we bring them to the polls. Before they can check those in and process those, they have to check the checkoff list to make sure the person didn't vote in person that day. So basically, we check it before we cast those absentee ballots. If the absentee ballot gets cast first, we write that on the incoming voting list. So if the voter goes to the polls later in the day, they're told you've already cast an absentee ballot. If they go to City Hall and drop their ballot off and run to the polls and vote, we haven't processed that absentee yet, so they'll vote in person, but when we cast the absentee ballot later in the day, we'll reject that ballot because they already voted in person. So someone might feel like they got away with something if they go to City Hall, drop a ballot off and run to the polls like, haha, I voted twice. But in fact, that second ballot isn't going to get cast.
Okay. Patty, I have a question. Can you explain to me the any recent advice you have got from the Secretary of State regarding absentee ballots from Colby College students or Thomas College students who are residing out of state, taking classes virtually but casting their ballots here in the city of Waterville?
Yes, well, the advice is the same as it is for all voters. If someone's on the list, they're registered to vote, they request an absentee ballot. We don't ask them why or whatever. If they're registered at the address and they request a ballot, we send it to them. So it's no different for the college students than it is for any other voters.
So they could have not lived here since last February, be taking online classes now, and vote here in our elections.
That is correct, because the law does state that if you're temporarily absent, that you don't lose your residency necessarily if you intend to return.
Right. Thank you. And I'm not putting this on you. I think you've done a great job this year trying to sort this out. I just think it's important that the people of Waterville understand what's happening to their elections here. Because you have...
Right. It's not as simple as it would appear. And
Yeah.
there are a lot of laws that come into play,
Yeah.
both the federal constitution, the state constitution, the National Voter Registration Act, the Uniform and Overseas Voters Act, the Help America Vote Act. All this kind of plays into it. So it's not so easy to just remove people from the list, kind of willy-nilly, especially a couple weeks ago.
No. I don't expect you to. I think you do. I think you're doing a great job, and I want to be clear about that. I'm trying to express that, because, and I'm going to bring it up again. The Morning Sentinel actually reported last year, when the students were sent home in the spring, around February, that I think it said 10% of the college students were Maine residents, not Waterville, but Maine. Well, 10% would be, for my estimates on enrollment, a couple of hundred kids. Yet we know by looking at past voter involvement and looking up looking at the addresses of voters, that sometimes we've had upwards of 600, 700, 800 people from those addresses voting. So it's just important that that this discussion happened, because people understand, like, wait a minute, 10% are Maine residents, yet maybe 20 or 30% are voting here, and now people who haven't been here since last February and are taking online classes out of New York City are voting here. What's going on? Just important for the people of Waterville to understand that. That's all. Yes.
Patty, does the state give you a definition of the word temporary when they talk about temporarily away?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
And these people, in order to be registered in Waterville, at some point you would have to have registered in person, either at City Hall or at the polls or at an event that you might have done. So, for example, a freshman who might be studying virtually, who never established residence in Waterville, can't have somehow registered via mail or something. They would have had to come, they would have had to establish residency in Waterville by living either in a dorm or an apartment or...
But remember, the voter identification is that all you have to do is show up, put your hand in the air, and say you live here. Just want to be clear about that. Thank you. It's not on you, Patty.
And indeed, Nick, that's federal laws that you where your residence is where you choose your residence to be. The mayor of Waterville doesn't get to choose who are the residents of Waterville. The residents of Waterville choose it for themselves.
Yeah, I understand that. And I also understand that when you register to vote, it's called a declaration of residency. And Maine law requires a transfer of your identification if you have a driver's license, and if you have a vehicle, that would be registered here as well. We send letters, actually, to all new registered voters that state that information on it. So I totally understand, Claude.
Well, I would just say, as a general rule, residency is different for certain things. There's different residency requirements to get a hunting and fishing license. So I will say that, residency is an issue that I work with all the time, and I work in conjunction with the Secretary of State's office and the city attorney to be sure that we're following the laws as we should. So.
And just one last time, Patty, can you summarize when and where between now and the end of the day on Election Day, where people can vote?
Okay, so in-person absentee voting is taking place at City Hall every day from 8 to 4:30. We have extended hours on the 21st and the 28th, the next 2 Wednesdays until 7 p.m. On Friday and Monday before Election Day, so the 30th, we still have in-person voting. On Monday before Election Day, that starts the special circumstances absentee ballot request time. So at that point, you have to have a reason that you can't be at the polls. I mean, everyone's had enough time to understand that there's an election coming. But if for some reason suddenly you're ill or you're unable to get to the polls, that's a special circumstance that would allow you to get an absentee ballot on the day before the election. On election day itself, we're voting at the Waterville Junior High. We're opening early. We're opening 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's the earliest that we're allowed to open by law. I expect there to be lines all day long because we can only have so many voters within the polling place at one time. So within the gymnasium, there's a 50-person gathering limit. That includes staff, poll watchers, and voters. So I expect there to be 25 voters at a time, basically, within the gym. 25 people or 30 lined up in the hallway, and then another 50-person gathering limit in the cafeteria where we're doing voter registration. Everyone else will be lined up outside. So of course we're at the mercy of the weather. You know, I don't want to see people waiting outside in the cold, but we really have no choice. It could be a nice sunny day, it could be snowing, we don't know. So I'm happy to see these absentee numbers. I think that bodes well for election day, but people will be waiting outside for upwards of an hour, I'm sure.
What is the law in Maine about postmarks? So when, does it just have to be postmarked by election day, or does it have to be received by election day?
Ballots have to be received by election day, 8 p.m. The drop box will be open until 8 p.m. at City Hall, and we'll have a staff member there to lock it at 8 o'clock and take the ballots out. So things have to be back by 8 p.m. 14 days and counting.
Okay. Councilor Frankie.
Yes, Patty, I think you guys are doing a real excellent job. However, I have gotten requests from several of my constituents asking about the possibility of Saturday voting and also the possibility of staying open later on the Friday before the election could extend hours there as well.
Right.
Would you address those concerns?
Well, yes, when we plan for an election, obviously, we're trying to figure out and gauge what the turnout's going to be and what the staffing levels will be and that sort of thing. It's played out pretty much as I had expected. So we're managing the flow very well. We didn't plan on doing Saturday voting, basically because we had done it many years ago in the past, every Saturday, and we'd have one couple show up every election, and that would be it. So we stopped doing Saturday voting, and we said, well, let's do it during the week and be open till 7 at night after people get out of work, they can swing by. So we've been doing that. We still don't get very much of a turnout. So I know that the political activists are sending out emails to everyone in the city saying that, we really need to force and have absentee voting on Saturday because it's really needed. Whether it is, I don't know. I'm afraid that we'll staff it up and then we'll have nobody show up. But I mean, it's only a few hours. I'm happy to accommodate if people feel that we need
Patty, I know from the email you sent earlier how you guys are overworked. You've got enough going on. And I appreciate that Councilor Frankie's really, he's not doing it. He's really just responding to his constituents, and I understand that too. If you can't, voting is so easy. It is so accessible. If you can't find a way to vote outside of those minute little times, that's on you. There's plenty. It's easy to vote. You can call the city. They'll send you the ballot. You can stop by City Hall. You can vote early. It's been going on for a while. Or you can show up in person on the day. I really don't want to put that extra pressure on you or your staff.
Well, I feel uncomfortable, just saying that, is it really needed? I mean, I suppose if we staff it up and 6 people show up, it's probably worth it. So I put it at the council. I mean, if you feel that, you would prefer us to be open, I'll put a couple staff members. Sarah and I are already working anyway, but we'd have to put different staff on to do that function. But I do agree with the Friday idea. Human nature is to wait till the deadline to do things. And even though we all have known for months now that this election is coming, human nature is to wait till the last minute. So I'm happy to stay open till 7 on the 30th. I really feel like we would vote people during that time, whereas I'm not sure that many people would show up on Saturday. So if you're asking what I would opt for, I would say to stay open late on Friday the 30th, the deadline day, because you know, I'm not sure how many people would show up on Saturday, is all.
And it has to be this Saturday, right? It can't be the 31st, because that's already shut down at
Right,
that
the
point.
31st and the 1st,
So
we're
you're
working
talking about-
12 hours both days to process all the absentees, so we can't possibly.
And we've not done any advertising for that to give people the opportunity to even exercise that ability. I don't know that that would be worth it. I mean,
For a Saturday,
for this,
for
with
this
this
Saturday,
yeah,
it would be
like-
difficult to get the word out. I mean, we could do what we
Right.
can.
I don't know
but-
that we'd get a lot of bang for the buck, but I'm certainly open to you know, staying open on Friday the 30th.
Yeah. I'm happy to stay open on the 30th because I'm sure we'll be very busy. There'll be a line out the door, I'm sure.
Yep.
You know, and we're happy to accommodate. I mean, if someone is out there that feels like they can't get in during business hours, if they call City Hall and let us know, I would go to City Hall and allow them to vote there, you know. That shouldn't be an issue, like, you know, the hours of City Hall, we bend over backwards to accommodate people and we would do it, so.
I
you know,
think
that
what
shouldn't be an obstacle for anybody in town.
What I would say is you have a lot more experience running elections than any of us, and I trust your judgment, Patty, that you're going to make sure that people have ample opportunity to vote. So whatever you think you need to do, I think that you should do, and I trust your judgment on that.
And you know, I realize that you are hearing from your constituents, so, you know, I'm happy to, you know, respond to them if you wish, but I think staying open on Friday night will accommodate a lot more people. And if anyone has any issues, please give me a call. We'll make it work for them.
So we're open tomorrow.
We're open tomorrow, the 21st, until 7.
Yep. And then
We're
next
open-
Wednesday.
And then next Wednesday, the 28th, until 7. And then we can stay open the 30th until 7, which is a Friday night. Yep.
Claude?
We're going to do that. Is that what
And
we're saying?
how are things going with the Dropbox? Are you getting a lot of ballots in the Dropbox, or is that hasn't figured in yet?
The Dropbox has been fantastic. It's been very well received. As a matter of fact, people are dropping off in the Dropbox. 48% of the ballots returned have been dropped in the Dropbox.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. We come in on the weekends and empty the box and bring the ballots in City Hall, and people will be kind of meeting us in the parking lot saying, "Oh, hey," you know. So it's been very well received, and every time we go out, there's 50 or 75 ballots in there. So I'm glad you thought of it, Mike. Great idea.
$1,200?
All right. Are there any more counselor updates? All right, we are moving on to community notes. Community notes is time if anybody from the public has something they'd like to say that wasn't already discussed tonight, now would be the time to do it. Do we have any community notes?
Hello.
Hi.
See me enough? So I thought I would show up again. Jennifer Bergeron, Lion's Den Tavern, and Erica's. We had discussed before that the parking lot is going to be redesigned, and that's come up several times. I would just like in this time to say it would be nice if we had those meetings now. I know Mr. Roy said there was a contract we have with a company, I believe, that is running out, so we have the opportunity to, I guess we've already kind of prepaid, to have this company do some designs for us. I'd like to be involved. I've had conversations throughout the summer about the fact that park is likely to disappear, and Mr. Foss, Mr. Colello have been involved in those conversations. I have ideas. I don't know any of you that have seen Lion's Den Tavern and Erica's. I like design. I believe I have good ideas for how to redesign some of the concourse and get more parking and still have it be a more beautiful space. So I'd just like to see that happen sooner rather than later and have us not waste an opportunity where we've already paid for this engineering company to do designs, and then we lose the opportunity where now the contracts run out and we don't get that done. So
I will set something up.
excellent. I would love to be involved.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure you're at the top of the list.
Oh, good. I'm glad there's a list. I know I'm on many lists. So. All right.
One of those unforgettable characters, in fact.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Great, thanks.
We get a manager's report?
Manager's report.
Oh, Mike, is there a manager's report? I totally skipped you.
Hold on, I think we have another community
All right,
note.
let me
Oh, we have another community note even?
make this very
Hold
quick.
on, Mike.
Oh, we got, I thought they were all just hanging out. No one moved when I said it before.
Still community notes.
It is for community note.
All right.
Sorry, Mike.
Sorry, guys.
All right, Phil, I think I might.
I tried, you know.
Oh, yeah, well, Jennifer basically spoke of what I was going to speak to, the parking issue downtown. You know, when I was in the council, this came up, and when we were proposing plans, we basically picked the one that did not maximize the number of parking spots that we're going to get downtown. And I think the discussion keeps coming up about parking, and it'd be really wise for us to not create a problem that we're going to have to fix again later. And it's an opportunity for us to be able to fix it now and really maximize the downtown and get as many parking spots as we can get when we redesign the concourse.
Actually, I think I'm sold on Mike's trees, to be honest with you.
You want another street?
No.
Can you blow up the parking committee? I mean, if we're going to talk about the
I
redesign,
don't even know if there is one. Is there one?
I mean, seriously, it's time. I asked for that when we were on council. They've done nothing for this. It is time to get some new voices on that committee to do some stuff.
Didn't we reconstitute that committee once already?
When?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? We might as well just wait for the new mayor to figure out who's on that thing. I'm out. Mikey.
I put on your desk a copy of the information for the interviews, city manager. So all of you have it. I know Council Frankie picked up his, Council Oliveira. I'm not sure if you have this. It's at City Hall. The interviews start Thursday.
Yes.
Okay, so if you can stop, pick it up. Sarah has it.
I'll pick.
Okay, that's it.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you.